jobs and make important
There's 2 million Californians that don't have work. Like, it would be good if they had something to do.
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, if you're trying to jumpstart the economy so that you increase consumer confidence and you allow corporations to say, well, you know, this money's flowing into the economy to create jobs, that's going to create, one hopes, demand. And so maybe we will invest here if we can pry the money out of the banks to do that.
Well, it makes it, I don't know the answer, but so what's the most dynamic part of the state's economy? Is it small businesses or startups or, you know, the stuff that, you know, all the venture capital dough pays for?
California has a very dynamic economy. We grow lots of small businesses, and then we have a lot of deaths as well. I mean, lots of life and death, lots of churn. So
you mean like in the assembly every 2 years?
It matches. So anyway, the point is, if we're going to continue with that kind of model, we've got to make sure that small businesses continue to be born, and so they can grow, so that we can withstand the ultimate leaving, which is what happens. So I guess the question is, does small business feel that this is a good place to start up anymore? I don't know.
Well, a lot of them are parochial, aren't they? I mean, they start up because there's a need in a given community for that service, that kind of business, and so it starts in a given community and often either fades away, goes out of business, but it doesn't really move. It's latched to a community. That's much of small business. Now, small manufacturing might be a different animal.
I'm reading more about the current economic situation being really hampered by the lack of credit for small business, and that's a sort of fallout from the banking crisis, which may be a particular problem for California because so many small businesses need capital to grow, and if that is a main sort of factor with the banking crisis, then that might hit California worse than other states.
Do your members
Would you put that on your list, Your Majesty?
I might put that on my list upon further, consideration.
Prodding the banks?
Thank you. I listen to my,
advisors.
Go ahead, my advisors.
Is that something that comes up from your membership, that they have trouble getting the banks to?
No.
Okay.
I don't, for the most part, larger manufacturers or folks that I talk to, and they have their own ways of raising money, and what I hear from the largest manufacturers is that they don't even put California on the list of places to make investments. It's, number 50.
So given that next year, right, even numbered year, big election year, nobody's going to do anything bad to businesses next year, are they, right?
It's not on purpose, I guess.
Okay, so it'd be crimes of omission, not commission.
They're just random acts of violence that they're not aware.
Well, but, okay, I mean, you and I saw the same thing this year. It's like, okay, everyone recognizes, whether it's from polling or just kind of reality checks, that it'd be good to have more Californians working, right? And the Democrats had like a package to create jobs, and the Republicans have some, additional proposal. I mean, that's, stop me, but I mean, that's all I really see happening next year, at least politically.
Why don't we create wealth? Why don't we create wealth in the state?
Right here.
Right, create wealth. I mean, you've got to create wealth. You've got to create exports. You've got to produce stuff. You've got to make stuff. That will create jobs.
Okay.
If you start, I want to create a job that's very sort of unsustainable.
How do we create wealth?
Support manufacturing.
Through research and development tax credits.
Well, we need a manufacturing.
We're starting to get it now.
You're starting to get it? Okay, we go to our website, cmta.net. We've got a list of things. Sales tax exemption on manufacturing equipment. California is one of only, I think, 2 other states.
We used to have that?
We used to have that, but our friend John Burton let it expire in 2004 over my vehement objections.
I believe it expired because of the caveat that was written into it by Willie Brown in 1993.
Right.
Which was?
He just said basically if the jobs drop a certain level.
The amount of manufacturing jobs fall below.
Right.
Whatever it was.
So we had a worldwide, or at least nationwide recession, the jobs drop, and so we lose our MIC. Just at the time when we need it the most. And now we're one of just a few states that impose a tax.
A handful, I think, was the word you were searching for.
I think 2. I think there's 2 others.
Do you have a sympathetic ear in the legislature to?
Actually.
On the Democratic side?
Yeah. It's actually,
Well, wasn't that in Brown's thing, his tax proposal?
I think everybody that's smart agrees that we need a sales tax exemption for manufacturing equipment, and that includes Republicans and Democrats. The question is that there's a cost associated with it on a static analysis. So Department of Finance says, okay, well, this is going to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars to allow this. Where are we going to get the money for it? And so in a tough budget situation, it's hard to get it.
What is a static analysis?
Static means the immediate cost to the state associated with granting that tax benefit is hundreds of millions of dollars. We've got a study that shows that over time you get that money back plus because of the stimulation effect. He doubts. He doubts. You should not doubt the
I don't doubt, but everyone has a study. I have a study that says you're stunningly full of it.
Okay, now we're going to get into studies.
Because I paid more than you paid your study person.
Okay, you want to talk about studies?
I
have a lot of
If she looks at the university person.
No. I think the government, I think the state of California, the other thing I would do as queen is require the agencies to do better economic analysis of the things that they're doing. And I think the state ought to have a better baseline understanding of the economy and how it runs.
So what's the opposite of static?
Dynamic.
Okay, and that's what, doesn't have a bill to do that?
Yes.
Okay, and what happened to that one? Didn't that pass?
I can't remember how far it went. I can't remember.
And going back to regulation, now it's all coming back to me now. Didn't we reform regulation this year too? There's a bill that did something about that. And now they have to show the economic.
Yes. Senate Bill 617.
617.
Yep. Requires Department of Finance to do.
On my nightstand, I think.
Is it? It's really pretty interesting. Yeah.
Well, I like how the Department of Finance is going to create new regulations to tell the other departments how to write their regulations in regard to economic impact. But
so if there's a major regulation, it'll be up to the agency to do sort of a credible analysis of what the economic impact is.
Is that beneficial? Is that helpful?
Yeah, sure. Create sunshine. Legislators will understand what the costs of things are, be able to step in if things are too aggressive or whatever. Right now there's no requirement, so everything's sort of under the radar, and you get the kind of reaction you gave me, which is when we do a study, you don't believe it because it's incredible because industry did it.
A bogus human being, so you can't really use that as
we get the reporters coming out, oh, we can't believe that because industry supported it or sponsored it. But if nobody else is doing it, what else have you got? So we need the government to step in and do it right so that we can have a fact-based discussion about what the impacts of these things are.
Is there really time? I mean, doesn't there have to be some sort of an intermediate step if you're going to really help the economy? I mean, these studies can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
And what's the timeline for actually implementing this and having manufacturers be confident enough to begin those investments?
Fast creation of wealth.
Fast creation of wealth, yes.
I don't know how I'm very concerned. I don't know what you do in the very short term because at least for manufacturing, now there may be other business sectors that could step up immediately and do something, but for manufacturing, we've got to turn around the reputation of California. You've got to get people really comfortable that they can make these long-term investments, and that does take some time.
Well, is Texas a better place to do business? Their governor would want you to say that.
I hear tell, yeah.
Well, and why?
What I've heard is that people feel that if there's something going wrong with them, if there's a business and they're running into some permitting problems or they have some issue, they can go to government, even go to the agency that's imposing those rules and say, I'm having a real problem. And they get a response that's, really? How can we help? That it's a complete cultural kind of a thing.
What's the response in California?
Too
bad.
This is the rule. This is the rule, or there is no place to go for resolution. Somebody was quoted, and I think it was Dan Henninger's piece in the Wall Street Journal, talking about it, and people say, in California, if you're in business, you are always doing something wrong. That's almost by definition. You're
according to
the
state thinks,
and you're in a constant state of pushing against litigation risks, costs, agencies coming down on you, inspectors that are repeatedly coming to your facility, your